Now, Eyewitness News at 6.
The water has nowhere else to go. Connecticut families tonight are forced from their homes. Good evening. Tonight's big story. The rivers pushed the limit and beyond. Now rising waters are spilling over banks and into neighborhoods. In Hartford, where flood stage on the Connecticut River is 16 feet, the water is at 21.6 feet. To the south in Middletown, where flood stage is 8 feet, the waters have reached just over 12 feet, and it's not over yet. We begin the big story in Middlesex County with Channel 3's Jennifer Watson at Harbor Park in Middletown. Jennifer.
Denise, the one thing we've noticed the most today is all the people who have come down here to see the flooding. Now, people have been coming here to Harbor Park all day. We also talked to people who live along the river, and for them, flooding has become almost a rite of spring. There's a heaviness in communities near the river. The land is weighed down, saturated. Trees that called the riverbanks home jut from their new foundation of water. Dips in the road have become too deep to cross. Even Manuel Cruz's home, perched above it all, is not immune.
It's getting wet in there already. The cellar is wet already.
For 42 years, Cruz has lived here, part of every spring spent watching rising water.
Since 1956, we only move out of here once. Every spring we get water here, but not as bad as now.
We were watching a stick this morning, and it was going faster than the car was.
Jill Hines says living near the river is worth the peace and the view. Her biggest fear, a repeat of 14 years ago.
84 was bad for us. It was halfway up my living room windows, and my daughter was a baby, an infant. So it was as long as it doesn't get like that, we're okay.
Flooding has become a 14-year tradition for the Johnson family on Route 17A. Yesterday, they moved their life's belongings to the second floor. Today, their first floor belongs to the water. The signs have become as much a part of the landscape as the people who live here. Both state the obvious.
It doesn't scare me because it happens before. We manage. Just get a canoe and move out of here, that's all.
Now, along with the car, you'll see many a boat parked in the driveways. Now, evidently, the worst is not over. Hilton Kaderli joins us with the latest on the flooding conditions. Hilton.
Jennifer, you're right. The worst is not over, but we have some good news for you, and that is the rising waters will do so only very slowly. Let's look at our forecast for the river, not for tonight, not for tomorrow, but all the way into Saturday. And you can see that the river goes up only a little bit more in Hartford by Saturday afternoon, up to 21.4 feet, in Middletown up to 13.1 feet. That is still a significant flood, not for downtown Hartford, but for areas just to the south of Hartford. For example, if the river were to go up to 23 feet, some residential neighborhoods between Hartford and Rocky Hill would be flooded, as well as streets and roads. And critical flood stage for Middletown is 13 feet. We expect it to get to that flood stage, and if it reaches 13 feet at Middletown, you'll see evacuations along River Road in Cromwell, and you'll see evacuations along Meadow Road in Portland. That's what the river's doing now. I do have to mention what's happening on live Doppler radar, because live Doppler 3 radar shows a very intense thunderstorm moving right over downtown Hartford right now and into East Hartford. And so we do have some locally heavy downpours. But again, the good news for that is these systems are moving very quickly, and they're not dropping enough rain to really affect the rivers. Al will have a look at the entire forecast in detail and the weekend outlook as well in just a few minutes.
All right, Hilton, we'll see you then. Other news tonight, a disruption today in the state probe into the death of 11-year-old Andrew McLean at the Elmcrest Psychiatric Hospital. Andrew's mother started screaming at the people who sit on the State Fatality Review Board. Channel 3's Jeffrey Cole was there and joins us with the story. Jeff?
Lucinda McLean pushed a picture of her dead son at panel members today in an emotional outburst toward the panel members and the TV cameras gathered around.
Excuse me, this is my son Andrew.
Excuse me, at this point we are taking no comments.
I'm begging you, please.
Thank you.
Moments after the meeting began, Andrew McLean's mother Lucinda confronted members, pushing toward them a picture of the 11-year-old in his casket. Panel members finally left the room.
Please, I'm begging you. Why can't I have any answers? What happened to my son? Why?
McLean's son Andrew, who had been in a DCF foster home, was crushed to death nearly 2 weeks ago at Elm Crest Psychiatric Hospital in Portland. McLean and her attorney complained they've still not been told exactly how the boy died.
What do you think that was gained by what your client just did?
I think she wanted to speak her piece. I think that was the most important thing to her.
What is known is that Andrew McLean died face down on the floor of a padded timeout room at Elm Crest Hospital. His arms were being held at the wrist by a medical aide. Later this afternoon, McLean and Trantolo met with the commissioner of the Department of Children and Families, again complaining they're being kept in the dark.
They hiding stuff. They try to hide a lot of things before they come out with some stuff. That's what they trying to do, put their things together.
The Portland police are conducting a criminal probe while the Child Fatality Review Panel and the Department of Children and Families are investigating what went wrong at Elm Crest. Fatality Review Panel members seemed unnerved by the outburst of emotion.
I mean, it had an impact on me, frankly, as a mother, not just as a child advocate and a member of this panel. I mean, it's just terribly upsetting.
The DCF commissioner says McLean will get full information as soon as she gets it.
I promised Andrew's mom that when we complete our abuse and neglect investigation, that I would sit down and I would share it with her first before we released it to the public.
Now, correction records show that Lucinda McLean was arrested and jailed for risk of injury to a minor in January of 1996. She did not spend much time in jail, but public records indicate at least that in terms of her background.
All right, thanks, Jeff. The family of a young West Hartford surgeon who was killed in a drunk driving crash has been awarded $62 million, one of the largest personal injury awards in state history. Dr. Leslie Karp was on her way to a medical emergency when she was hit head-on back in 1992. The other driver, Edward Kiley, had been drinking at the Berlin American Legion Hall. He recently got out of jail, serving 5 years for his role in the crash and an unrelated robbery. The doctor's family has already settled a suit against the Legion for serving the alcohol. Efforts to ban soft money clear another hurdle tonight. The state voted unanimously, the Senate did, to ban the unregulated funds that flow into the parties rather than the individual campaigns. The state house had already passed the ban, and the governor says he will sign it.
A member of the Hartford Police Department's K-9 unit is back on the beat tonight, just 2 days after a vicious attack in the line of duty. It was an attack that was ended by a policeman's bullet as a partner rushes to the rescue. And as Channel 3's Susan Raff reports, back on the beat is where this dog feels most at home.
Officer Steve Pierce and Elliot are partners. They've been working together 4.5 years. They've been in some pretty dangerous situations together, tracking criminals throughout the city. And this week, Officer Pierce almost lost his partner.
Just a vicious attack on him and no one willing to help.
Officer Pierce and Elliot were going to this apartment building on Martin Street where guns were being sold in the basement. They were in the backyard when a pit bull ran towards Elliot.
Once that pit bull was latched onto him, it was no getting him off. Once he took him to the ground, he readjusted on the ear, his bite, and got down to the base of the ear, and then violently started growling and pulling and shaking in such a way that my dog started to cry out, and I just felt I had no other choice but to do what I did. And
Pierce pulled out his gun and shot the pit bull. Elliot's ear was torn and he's had several stitches, but it's not enough to keep him from his partner or his job.
In his ear, all inside is all.
Oh my God.
Those who live at this elderly housing complex are fans of Elliot. He and Officer Pierce keep an eye on things.
That's something I can see about what pit bulls would do.
I'm really lucky that he wasn't seriously hurt. I love this dog. Yep.
Good partner?
Elliot is the best.
To make Elliot feel better, Officer Pierce has given him a few extra bones for dinner this week, but it seems Elliot doesn't want any special treatment at all. He just wants to get back to work. In Hartford, Susan Raff, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
What a good dog. Elliot's already a decorated dog, 2 years ago given an award for finding a bank robber. Denise?
A major victory for a state lawmaker accused of driving under the influence. The story's coming right up.
Also here on Connecticut's news station, a decision that could affect how much you have to pay for electricity.
I'm Carrie Connolly. West Hartford firefighters take a big step in saving lives by installing these defibrillators in all their fire trucks. We'll tell you all about it on tonight's Health Beat.
The rumble of thunder, some small hail, heavy downpours, and a weekend forecast all ahead when we deliver the weather in just a few minutes.
But first, a deadly shootout on the streets of New Haven. News for Seymour, West Hartford, Middletown, and your part of Connecticut when we come back.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News. This is Connecticut's news station.